welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and of course, I'm joined as always with my co-host Darian Smith and Jimmy Marion. And guys, before we get to breaking down UAB's 35-6 win over the NC Aggies, we've got a special announcement to make. So, Blazer Victory and Cahaba Brewing Company are partnering. So very exciting times. So going forward, what this means, if you're listening, what this means is that all of our game recaps are going to be brought to you by Cahaba Brewing Company. And guys, I don't know about you, Cahaba Brewing Company has a lot of great beers, especially their core beers. But one of my favorites is their Pale Ale. It's been around for a long time, low ABV, but you can pick that up at the tap room at the Cahaba Brewery or your local grocery store or bar. And I mean, Jimmy, we got to hang out a lot with your dad today, and I know he likes the, Cahaba Blonde is one of his favorites. So we are definitely excited to partner with Cahaba Brewing Company on the Blazer Victory podcast going forward.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, Big Jim is all about the Cahaba Blonde. He was getting some earlier this week. He tried to order one tonight at our pregame spot. Unfortunately, they were out. But yeah, that's really exciting, John. I'm just looking forward to that partnership and the great things to come. Some of the stuff that we've got in the works, but it's really nice for us to begin building that relationship with Cahaba Brewery. And again, just looking forward to all the stuff that we'll have planned in the future.
Definitely. And, right now we are, every game recap is going to be brought to you by Cahaba Brewing Company. But definitely, like Jimmy just said, there are some other things in the works. So stay tuned, Blazer Nation. But of course, drink responsibly. But go to cahababrewing.com is their website, and you can look at all the great offerings that they have. Not only not only in the tap room that has over 26 beers on draft, but also it's Oktoberfest season too, and they've got a really good Oktoberfest too. But I especially love the Cahaba Pale Ale, super low ABV, very smooth, great beer. So for all of our, if you're 21 or older listening and, you haven't checked out Cahaba, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and go to the brewery or go to your local grocery store or bar and go ahead and try a beer from Cahaba. But guys, Trent Dilfer era starts off 1-0 again as the UAB Blazers take down the North Carolina A&T Aggies 35-6. And Darian, where would you like to start on this game? I mean, obviously, it's great to start off 1-0, start off the Trent Dilfer era 1-0, start off the inaugural season in the AAC 1-0. But I just want to get some quick thoughts from you, Darian. What are your just very immediate takeaways from this game?
I think we did a lot of with Trent. And by the way, guys, you're gonna hear from my 2-week-old baby, and you hear in the background, she's with me. I've been the only one to keep her calm tonight. So we're not only great podcasters, we're great dads. But we need to get we need to get sponsored by some kind of kids clothing store or something.
Yes.
I think that'll be cool. John, put that in the works, man.
Definitely, we'll work on it.
But I think that we're finding our identity. I love that Mortensen was able to get this experience. I love how that we kept the ball, and I know Jimmy made mention of this, that we made something of that fourth quarter all the way till we had it at the end. Here you go, baby. But and then we needed some plays that we needed to run down. We needed some passing plays. We needed some running plays. We needed to go through this to just see who we are, to continue to develop that. I'm proud of Jacob Zeno. He only had one WTF pass that probably should have been a pick six.
Oh my God! And he wanted that
not
one
probably.
back. Right when after he threw that, you could where Jimmy and I were sitting, you could tell he was like, why did I throw that?
But he only had one of those, and as for much as I love Dylan Hopkins, and I'm only doing this for just to compare. He seemed to have like three or four of those a game. No matter who he played, he would have Dylan is a guy that's going to do great down in New Mexico, not New Mexico State. But Dylan is extremely talented, but he will have those passes that, man, those passes can change the game. Totally
Definitely.
change the momentum of the game. Gino looks sharp, man. That dime to TJ Jones. Shout out
You,
TJ Jones. I know he listens to the pod. Uh,
TJ.
shout out TJ, man. But that was we didn't have too many plays that were like, oh, that's amazing. T Palm had one, and Jacob Zeno definitely had one on that throw. That was a big league throw. It was on the money, right in the bread basket for how long? It was about 40 yarder, huh?
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
34.
yeah, about 30. Yeah.
That was perfect. I just really think this game was really good for Alex Mortensen because let's be real, in my opinion, Alex got a little too cute when it was time, especially when it was and I know I'm bouncing around. I don't know if we need to go a quarter to quarter, but I'm trying to do a quick just
No,
try
we
to.
don't. Yeah, we don't have to do quarter by quarter, but I'm very glad that you started off with this, talking about Zeno and talking about Mortensen. But yeah, hey, Zeno, hey, 38 of 41 for 291 yards, three TDs. I mean, you really can't ask much better from that performance. And I know that we just talked about that one ball that he knows that he wants back.
Yeah, we had to get that out the way real quick. Let's just get that out the
Uh,
way.
Other than that, man, he really couldn't do much, and I'm glad you brought up with the Mortensen. That's why I texted you guys in the text thread. Like after that first drive that UAB went down and scored, I said, okay, well that we know that was scripted, but let's see what this offense looks after that drive. And I mean, it looked good. I mean, you take away, Jimmy and I were talking to the game like the fumble from was it Tayshawn Palmer that fumbled had
Yep.
the
Yeah,
Yep.
fumble, and then the flip was just 1 yard short. I mean, that's very well 14
Hmm.
points right there. So I mean, they
true.
very well could have blew this thing even more wide open than they did. And we were just talking before we hopped on and started recording. In the post radio segment with Trent Dilfer, I mean, he said, "Hey, this isn't 10% of the playbook. There's still 90% of the playbook that nobody has seen." So I feel like, he did get a little too cutesy a couple early drives, but for the most part, I love what they did. Isn't it good, guys, to just have somebody utilize the passing game in in the running game per se. You know how like we would always just be so used to Debo getting it. Okay, well it'd be 3 yards. Everybody in the world knew Debo was doing it. But hey, how about you just do a quick pass to the slot or have a skull out there and catch a 3-4 yard route?
Hmm.
Like how good is that to just see UAB utilizing more than just, hey, we're going to ground and pound, all the time.
It's
So
huge. I mean, it's dynamic, and that was something that we saw early on and throughout the contest, right? Was just having Jermaine Brown and Isaiah Jacobs in the game at the same time. And of course, some of those dump off passes were relatively short, but Jermaine Brown had at least I don't know if it was 7, 8 yards. He had a catch down the field too. But I mean, it just speaks to how versatile that we can be just to have both of those guys in the game at the same time. That's going to be a tough 1-2 punch for defenses to adjust to as we go throughout the season. If they do, we've talked as many times as we have about how deep the running back room is, and we were able to bring a guy in like Lee BB, and even late in the drive, like he had those 4 carries and averaged over 8 yards a clip. Lee Witherspoon got some time in there as well, but we've talked over and over again about how deep that running back room is, and how about us just spreading the wealth offensively? We had
Yes, I'm
13
glad you
different
brought that
players
up. I'm
that caught a
glad.
pass, and you look at these
Yes.
guys, and it wasn't one player that we zoned in on and that had 6, 7, 8 grabs. Like you look at these guys, whether it's Ferrier with 4 grabs, Palmer with 4, Jermaine Brown with 4, Dallas Payne with 4, Isaiah Jacobs with 4, Hooks with 3, 3, 3. I mean, you look at this and we just spread it around. And Trent's talked about that, right? Like he's talked about being multiple and getting different guys the ball. He's talked about, just being efficient with snaps. So it's like, looking at a guy like Tajon Palmer and saying like, hey, you're not potentially going to play as many snaps, but when you're in the game, like you're going to be more efficient because we're going to be more intentional about what we're going to do with you in certain situations. And so, if you're an offensive player and you're looking at this offense, it's got to be exciting that that you're going to be used in certain situations, that you're going to get in the field, and that you're not just going to be in the field as a receiver to block on the outside or stand there, right?
Jimmy,
Like you're going to be involved.
Jimmy, you are preaching. Like these are the exact same thoughts that were just going through my head, man. These guys are going to be excited when they go in thinking like, oh, I have a route tree that I'm running. I'm not a gimmick guy. I remember I'm really close with Roger Johnson Sanders, and he hated that he had a role here. He hated it. Like he was a gimmick. He felt like he wanted the opportunity to do more. He wanted to run a route tree. And I went down, I saw him play at Troy a couple times. He ran routes and he was amazing. He was amazing. Like he can do deep posts. But here we had him as a sweep guy, jet sweep. That was it. Can't tell you nothing else he did. He probably caught a screen or so. Man, we had guys all over the field. I saw Malachi Hope Bennett catch a ball. I saw Fred Ferrier. I saw Lee Beebe. I saw Lee Witherspoon. Like it was so many guys, and that made me so happy. And then secondly, another thing about spreading the wealth like that was Jacob Zeno made very, very good decisions. Like I said, he had that one WTF, but how many times did he pull the ball down, gain positive yards? How many times did he checked down and we got a first down because he looked down the field, didn't like where you saw check down 8 yards. Like that is stuff that we did not have in our offense, and that to me is that professional field that Trent loves to talk about. A lot of times we took unnecessary sacks. We just did some stupid stuff sometimes. I'm like, why did we put ourselves in that position? The only thing that we have to do now is like execute. There's no reason to be on the half-yard line and not punch that in. Then that's when it comes to that cutesy stuff.
Hey,
QB sneak it 4 times, bro. I don't want to see nothing else. I don't want to see a running back. Just QB sneak. Yeah, we at the half-yard line, bro. Like the speed sweep was the worst play that you could possibly call it. So I'm glad we got that out of our system. I'm so glad. Because I'm pretty sure Trenton's gonna be like, nah, scrap that. And I'm so used to like coach speak right here, like I'm trying to avoid cussing. It's like 3 times I almost cursed right there. So, but I'm glad we got that out of our system on offense. But I'm so excited, and I'm like I'm such a Jacob Zeno believer. I can't wait to see him against Georgia Southern, to where we can open up that playbook and we can really sling it more so downfield. I was also excited about how we used the whole width of the field. Mm-hmm. Like we were side to side. Yeah. And so it was like you had to cover. It's almost like a West Coast offense today. And I know we got playmakers that we can dial it up and go deep. We was throwing it over the middle, man. I'm pumped up because now you can't key in on all our running backs. So I'm excited. Shout out to the offensive line. Mm-hmm. I don't think we didn't give up a sack, right?
That's right. Yep, 0 sacks.
So shout out to the O-line, man. They did their thing. We're going to really get to see them against better competition and see what they're really about some next game against Southern. But offensively, I don't know what I would grade us. What would you guys grade us offensively?
I mean, we're only punting the ball once.
Right, yes.
We had the fumble, and then we – and then that I don't know if that's really on the players, that half-yard line thing. I think that was kind of Morton. I think he got to eat that one. So overall, I give us a B+.
B+, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was leaning that way too. I mean, when you go 8 for 10 on third down conversions, you punt once. You obviously put up close to 460 yards. You spread it around like we did. You didn't give up any sacks. I mean, yeah, I'm leaning towards a B at the worst, B+. One more note, as Darian, you were going through there, and I was thinking, what did BJ Jones tell us, and what is some of the the research that we talked about earlier in the week in our preview was that the strength of this defense that we faced this evening was their secondary,
Secondary. Good
right?
Right.
point. Good
And
point.
and so I'm just even more so impressed in how efficient we were, in that we didn't change it up and say, hey, they have an inexperienced front seven, or our offensive line is on average 50 pounds heavier than their D line. Let's just punch it up the middle, because we probably could have. But, this is the offense that we were expecting, not to the extent that we, anticipate as it evolves over the season. But that makes it even more impressive, guys, that strength of that defense that we faced tonight was the secondary, and to see Zeno and the receivers do what they did tonight.
And
Definitely.
Debo to the right of Debo up the middle, crushing it. No, like I'm making a real point. Like I'm not trying to diss, but yeah, Debo for 250 plus yards. Yeah, you kind of show your identity, but it's against the FCS team, right? And what do you really gain from that? Because when in the past, what we would do was we would go to the next games and we couldn't lean on it. We leaned on that for the first half, right? Think about Liberty. We
Yes.
leaned on that for the first half, but it was like turnovers and everything. But when it was time to diversify, we could not. And that was just our season. We couldn't diversify. If plan A didn't work, we had to try to make plan A work again. That was it. So
Definitely.
I'm glad that we got some diversity and we got some freaking pace, man. We didn't come close to, having the having the clock run out on us and getting a penalty. We got pace to us now. So I love what we saw offensively for the most part.
Definitely love the tempo. And before we move over to the defensive side of the ball, I do want to just let everybody know that I just realized this too, because the UAB football account tweeted it out. But Jacob Zeno set a UAB school record Thursday night with 38 completions, and also completion percentage of 92.7% is the fourth highest completion percentage in the AAC history. So,
Dang.
wow, what a performance. Like, that just adds to what we just talked about over these last, 16 minutes. Like, how impressive to do that. And I know some people are listening, it's like, oh, it's an FCS school. No, I mean, what did Jimmy just say? In our interview with BJ Jones, and also, I got to talk with, some NCAA people, like, and from inside the valley, like that secondary is good. Like, this is not like a trash like FCS team. This is a good FCS team. Like, and to do that and to look confident and comfortable, other outside of that one pass, like, my goodness, like, what it just brings it back kind of full circle. And I know it's just the first game, so we are definitely, like what Darian said earlier. Hey, none of this matters what happened tonight. It's what happens next week in week two, if and get UAB over this week two slump that they've been in since the return. But my goodness, like, what an impressive performance from Jacob Zeno and out of the receivers tonight.
Right, right. Agree.
Awesome. Well, let's flip it over to the defense and kind of talk about what Sione Taufa'o did on the defensive side of the ball and the guys. And obviously, I do think we do have to start with Jackson Bratton, who want to plug the Patreon again. I was able to talk with Jackson Bratton at the start of fall camp. So patreon.com/BlazerPod, check it out. But 12 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. I mean, and that was with Bratton sitting out a couple series, I believe. Like, he was a stud tonight, Jimmy. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, man, Jackson Bratton was as good as advertised, and what's been so great about the evolution of his career thus far at UAB is that he had a couple games last year where he was able to step up and have some big outings. None to this caliber, right? But we've heard so much over the offseason, including your interview with him, John, about just his leadership, right? Him becoming more of a leader of this team, and he led the team tonight with his performance, right? So he's talked about maybe not necessarily being the most vocal guy, but he was everywhere. Like, you look at that inside linebacker position, look at the outcome, look what he was able to do. And so that was the kind of player that you think about that initially went to the University of Alabama. That was a 4-star recruit. Like, he was very impressive tonight, and I'm looking forward to him having just a awesome season for UAB.
Yeah, I mean, he was good. Like, don't get me wrong. To me, like, the numbers are good. I'm just thinking about the overall performance of the defense, and you look and you're like, oh, they only gave up 6 points, right? They only gave up 6 points. But anybody with eyes that saw that like we missed a lot of tackles, and that's the part that I don't like. This isn't freaking Georgia we're playing. We missed way too many tackles, and I think the thing is though, between weeks 1 and week 2, especially for defense, you get a lot better because you hone in on a lot of mistakes. But I think it's good to preface with our pre-pod discussion that it was so many guys in and out. John and Jimmy was doing it because I couldn't keep up. I'm like, man, what number? Why do we have this guy here? What's going on?
Right.
Right. I think at one point, Jimmy, you said Sorrells like was the guy
That man was
linebacker.
out there getting 4 tackles like in the fourth quarter. He came in and said, "Who is 33?"
Yeah, that's why I was looking at Thomas. I was like, who is this 33? And it was Will Sorrells. Okay, so.
Yeah, then y'all said something about like Cy McDaniel in at
Yeah.
safety. I'm like, what is going on? Like I saw, we saw AJ Brown go down. He got hurt, and then you guys pointed out Damon Miller, who's a starting strong safety, didn't suit up.
Swoops.
Swoops, who is our star player,
Hmm.
um, he didn't suit up.
Kendall Johnson, you pointed out that was a guy that I saw him going through Blazer Walk, and I had the same thought, I believe, that you did, Darren, when you saw him at the practice there. Like, who is that? That guy is huge, and I didn't
Yeah,
even think
yeah.
that.
The dude, like, I remember we saw him at, I've seen him at that. I was like, who the freak? I have to find a way to talk to this guy. I don't know who this guy is. He's impactful. I know when we saw him in the spring, he was one of the best defenders in that spring game that we had out there, but he kept flashing. And the dude looks the part. Like, we thought Tuazamba looked the part. He's it's like just the same almost. Kind of like more of a leaner fashion of him. But it was so many subs, man. It was so much in and out on defense. I'm pretty sure those guys was trying to keep it vanilla. And a lot of guys got good experience, like Rusal. I think Rusal is going to be special for us now.
Yes, he made a really key play in that game tonight.
He really did. Now, one thing that I am concerned about is the lack of we didn't have any dynamicism on the edge. Like I wanted to see some edge rushers. I know we saw Nikhil Easton get in there and get a sack. Happy that Soldier was in there to do his thing, but I wanted more from like a Desmond Little. I wanted more from Fish. I wanted more from Michael Fairbanks. I think Tyreek Howard was a beast now. 43 was a beast when you go back and look at that film. He was controlling guys up there, up front.
Yes.
But it was too many missed tackles. I think we allowed too many yards on the ground when we knew they couldn't do nothing but run it on the ground. I think their passing was affected by our secondary, but also that they couldn't pass. It was both things could be true. They just wasn't good at the quarterback position.
Guys, I was watching football last weekend, and the FIU quarterback had 4 total passing yards, and for the vast majority of tonight, the NCAT quarterback had 7 yards, so he was barely beating out the dude from FIU. He finished with 16, but I mean, just when you thought you couldn't see it, I mean, 7 yards passing by the NCAT quarterback, that was wild.
I know our secondary is good, but we didn't have a lot of our key guys, but also like they couldn't get. I don't know if they got challenged or were we really that good, or did we just didn't get challenged good enough? I don't know the answer to that. I do know that I just didn't like the fact that when they did drop back, I felt like they didn't face enough pressure, and I think we were. For a one-dimensional team, we let them kind of succeed in that dimension too much.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like that. But also like we stated though, it's kind of hard to judge this game as well because So many guys was out, so many substitutions, so many like freshmen. It was just guys everywhere. I'm like, ooh, it almost looked like a scrimmage game, like ones,
It
twos,
really
threes. I don't
did.
know who. Yeah, like on defense, like offense was pretty consistent. On defense, it was so many jersey numbers out there, bro. I couldn't tell you what was going on. Um, they stayed vanilla for the most part because of that. I didn't see any exotic pressures. I really saw base coverages and just the base defense. So with that being said, I mean, I guess it's good. We gave up 6 points. It would sound like we nitpicking and being buttholes a little bit, but I think our concerns are true.
No, yeah, and I'm glad you are, talking about that, and that's something that I know the staff is going to be looking at, come today or tomorrow, in prepping for that Georgia Southern game. They're going to want to look at these situations that some guys were out of place or just didn't do what they were supposed to do, and they'll hopefully get it straightened out before Georgia Southern. But two guys, I know we talked about Jackson Bratton, but I really want to just give kudos to Kevin Penn. He had 5 tackles and a sack at TFL. Like, this guy has worked his butt off the last few years, and I know he's been dinged up. Especially last year, he really didn't get to see as much playing time as he wanted, but he was out there a good bit today. And in fact, out of the defensive line, like, I think Kevin Penn impressed me the most tonight, which is really weird to say, with Fish and the other guys there. Like, I mean, I know we've talked about, Fish earlier and then Tyreek Howard, but I really like what I saw out of Kevin Penn out there tonight.
And that's what we need to hear, John. That's
Yes.
what we need to hear. It's like we need to really see where our depth is at and really see where our strength is at. And is it depth or is that start potential? So like
Yeah.
Kevin Penn was a guy that had an Ole Miss offer coming out of high school, and like you said, he's been dealing with injuries his whole career, and I feel like this is his first year just being healthy
Yeah,
coming
it
in.
is.
So if that's, I think he can probably finally show that potential that that he's had. I think another guy that's been dinged up his whole career, I was wondering about, and that I think really played well. I feel like stood out was Michael Moore,
Yes.
number 15. I think he did a good job being physical, setting the edge. He made a couple solo tackles. He flashed to me on the film. Like, he got up the field. He actually was provide some dynamic pass rushing abilities out there. So I'm really excited to see Georgia Southern is a team that we know that can sling it. Um,
And real quick, Darren, what jersey number was Michael Moore wearing tonight?
15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't 95, or he was number 15.
Wait,
That was.
who was 15? Okay.
I ain't finna go there with you.
Patreon.com.
So Michael Moore did good in that 15. I can tell you that.
And guys,
But
the
yeah, man.
penalties. No penalties in the first half. I mean, I know it
Yeah.
got a little
What?
ugly that second half, but hey, when's the last time you seen a UAB game where they did not have one penalty in the first half of football?
Yeah, and I ain't even like the pass interference. Like, that didn't want finna. He wasn't finna catch that ball.
It was nitpicky. I mean, I guess I see why it was called, and I'll go back and rewatch the game tomorrow. Now, one of the penalties, and we talked about before we recorded, was that leaping on the punt.
Mhm.
I've got to go back and see what happened there. Like,
Yeah.
that was a huge penalty in the game. I mean, it didn't end up, having a factor in the game, but I mean, you got a good return from DMAC, and all of a sudden that's wiped away, and A&T gets a first down, and I can't remember if they scored that drive, but
John, you talking about no penalties in the first half, but wasn't it on the first play of the game? Didn't we have like two guys with number 13
same
on the field,
number.
and the other team declined it?
Hey, when I heard that, I said, you got to be kidding me.
We were so much cleaner with penalties, and we were so much cleaner with our pace and tempo. Like,
Yes.
those were things that were night and day. I think the only thing offensively that I would take from a Bill Clark, Brian Vincent type of offense is like, when it was time to line up and run that thing, we did, minus UTSA. Minus UTSA when we went down there and kind of choked the game away. We didn't run it then. But besides that, like, when it was a 3rd and 1 or 3rd, it's time to kind of like just nut up and believe in our guys up front and believe in our running backs.
I saw that, Jimmy. Yeah, because Trent, what Jimmy's saying in the chat is that Trent talked post game, and he was like, he even said that the refs missed a couple holding calls. So even he's noticing, like, hey, we need to, UAB needs to clean up some stuff before they go to Statesboro next week. So that's good.
I think that's a coach being a coach too.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, they're always
the coach. Like, I want more. I want the best from my team.
That's so true.
But I think defensively, we need to shore up. Now, I was going to ask you guys, what do you think we look like next game defensively? Like, do we get a lot of those guys back, and are we more consistent? What you think?
That's a good question. I mean, that secondary was starting to get dinged up towards the second half of tonight. So hopefully, and that's too. Hey, that's a good thing about playing Thursday night. You get a couple days rest, right? Like you get couple days rest. Look at the film, and then okay, now we're a 4-day prep for Georgia Southern. So that is the perks of playing early on a Thursday night. So hopefully, I really couldn't see what happened with a couple of guys like a Ray Thornton. Jimmy, was telling me, he got off. I couldn't tell what happened there. Hopefully, he just got, dinged up a little bit.
Jimmy also noticed that Charlie Good was out for a while.
That's true.
So Ray Thornton went out relatively early. He was on the bike. I would assume that he could have gone back in, but that's when we saw some other guys come in, and we know that Swoops. He wasn't dressed out, but I don't have any information, but it didn't appear to me to be anything like substantial. So I would hope that Swoops would be back and that Ray Thornton would have a little bit of extra time to rest. And Damon Miller, I know he's dealt with some injuries throughout his career. Like again, I would hope that you get some combination, you get 2 or 3 of those guys back. And Charlie Good, I think the announcer called him Goody or something. Goody. I forgot what they said at one point in time.
But Goody bag.
Yeah, Goody. I don't know if he got hurt. I just didn't see him out there for a little while. So we had some other guys coming in like Asoro. So I wasn't sure where number 40 Charlie Good was for a few possessions. So, but for me, I'm listening to what Dilfer has said consistently when the question's been asked is that we've had little dings, right? Like we haven't had any, anything major. And then when you look at a couple of the guys tonight, they're on the depth chart and the 2 deep going into the week. So I can only assume that, hopefully we'll have some of those guys back next week, Darren.
Yeah, and I think what we want to see is just like what we saw from the offense. It's like that consistency, right? Like we want to see Damon Miller, we want to see Swoops. Those are 2 of our leaders defensively. We need to see those guys out there. I want to see Mayala out there. I want to see Kendall Johnson. That's like we talk about being dynamic on that outside. Bam, there you go. We need a healthy Charlie Good to play alongside Jackson Bratton. We need a healthy Tamarius Brown out there. We need a healthy Reese Collier out there.
Yep.
Oh, there go my baby.
Yeah, and you speak of Mayala. It was a good sign he was dressed out tonight. Now he didn't get in, I don't believe, but that was a good sign that he dressed out. So hopefully we'll be good to go for Statesboro next week.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I just think if we have all those pieces and we have a consistent rotation, then we can see something a lot more different as far as especially with a guy like Swoops and stuff out there, just accountability. And just being able to run more with your defense. I think once you're able to run more and be more aggressive, you play more faster. That's another thing I saw. I felt like we didn't play like as downhill and as fast. And I think that's because we had so many guys in and out. You just say play the base pressure. We sent that pressure that one time and we got a sack when the kid Eason. So I want to see us be exotic. I want to see us do multiple things defensively, kind of like what we do offensively. And I think this team can be good, man. I really do. I think we got the tools there. I think we have the staff. I think we can make some noise in AAC, man.
Definitely. Well, guys, Jimmy, anything else to add, or do we think we can wrap this?
We missed the 28-yard field goal. That wasn't inspiring at all.
That was not good. Wide right too. Yeah, that
like
was
what?
Yeah.
Come on.
Hey, here's the thing. We talked about it in the offseason. John mentioned it earlier that damn game 2 every season has just been our, kryptonite. Beat Southern. Just do it. Like let's get out of Statesboro with a win. Let's come back to protective 2-0, get some momentum. With the opportunity to start the season off hot. I'm so looking forward, I should say, to doing a preview of Georgia Southern. They're going to be scary offensively. To Darren's point, it's going to be important that we get some guys healthy. But no, nothing else to add about this game. I'm just already starting to get excited about that trip to Statesboro.
I'm excited about what we can be, man. Like what we
Right.
see in Zeno, and then if we open up this offense, man, do we like? I don't want to overshoot it, but what if we open up this offense? Like, think with me, dream with me, Blazer Nation, right? We open up this offense, and what if Zeno comes out and drops 380 tomorrow on 30 for 36 passing, 380, and it's like, okay, like, all right, I'm gonna start getting hyped, like, all right, like, okay, now, like, I think we might have a good one back at quarterback, and we got a lot of weapons, so and we proved that we can protect him, and if we can get that consistency on defense, I'm telling y'all, we can do something, but it's going to be up to the players and this coaching staff to all galvanize it together.
Hey, one more thing. I just want to give a shout out to Richard Duncan. Got to meet John's dad, Richard, this evening. And
Big
he's
Rich,
the man.
Yeah, we got Big Jim and Richard together tonight.
Yes.
Oh, that's what's up.
We got them together. Richard is the man. Shout out. And then also, what's up to Thomas Johnson? I got to meet Thomas this evening
Shout
as
out
well.
Thomas.
Yeah,
Yes.
shout out, big time supporter. So it was great to see some of y'all at the game.
Definitely. Well, again, UAB takes down the North Carolina A&T Aggies 35-6 to start the 2023 season 1-0 and start the Trent Dilfer era off to the right way. But again, we do want to thank you to Cahaba Brewery, like, for sponsoring us, and just, thank you. If you guys, Blazer fans, if you're listening and you're at the Cahaba Brewery on East Avondale, definitely, hey, let them know you listen to the Blazer Victory podcast and you appreciate their support. But we are very grateful for them and can't wait to hopefully unveil some new things soon. But without further ado, we'll.
Hey, John, did you see what our friend Jared Cumulus, is it Cumulus? Did you see from UTSA, from the Audio Dome Audible? Is that right?
It's a Jared Kalmus from the Alamo Audible. Yeah,
Alamo Audible. Okay.
It's late, bro. It's no. What he tweet?
He said that I'm really doing this for Blaze Nation because I really love Jared. He said that Tulsa was playing similar FCS opponent, and they looked much better than UAB.
Whoa.
And they had a backup quarterback in.
Oh, I'm gonna have to make a phone call to Jared because that's my boy. That's my boy. But I'm gonna watch that. Yeah,
that was spicy.
Hey, thanks for tuning into the game, Jared. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you caring, man.
I said, okay.
Don't lose to the Blazers of San Antonio now.
I'm telling you, watch out now. I'm gonna retweet. I'm gonna repost it till I die now.
Jacob's coming home to San Antonio.
He's gonna get that done.
And I was gonna say those Roadrunners better be focused on this Saturday. They got to go to Houston, so they need to get
go UTSA. I'm going. Go
there
UTSA.
You go. Hey,
I'm cheering for them hard, man.
Birds up, man. Yeah, birds
up.
Yes. All right, Jimmy. You want to go ahead and close us out?
Blazer Nation, just blaze.